Home the gold.
He could be too far. No, he's streaking. Oh, what a catch!
And puts a spicy forehand out in front of Naomi Morsilla.
Move for the win. Team Canada. Darren Woo!
Santos with the layout grab.
Oh, that fantastic grab. The claws of Chaffer.
Canada just became the world champions.
Canada, the rest of the world. You're listening to the Huckin podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Theo from the Toronto, Ontario.
And I'm Danie Proby from Vancouver, BC, and together we are your coast-to-coast guide to all things Canadian Ultimate. I just need to tell you all this, that we've recorded this intro already, and I just even though I've said this now almost 100 times, I swear, I just butchered the intro so hard. So, speaking of Ultimate, Theo, what's happening in your world?
What's happening? I told you about that one Ultimate experience I had. I did attend a tryout on Saturday. Not really trying out for the team, but I did attend boat tryouts there. And so, yeah, that's what I did. It was fun. A couple hours. A lot of young faces out there. Couple rush faces there too. So, that's how it goes. So that's what I did Ultimate-wise. Looking at you, Danie, I don't know if people can see on the YouTube version. I think you got some color. I'm just going to assume you did because of what I saw on your Instagram feed and all that good stuff. So tell the audience what you did. Were you vacating? Were you working? Were you playing Frisbee? What were you doing out in the kind of tropical area there?
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking, how was your vacation? And it feels very funny because it did not feel like a vacation whatsoever. So it's called a mastermind, and we do this kind of twice a year. We'll go kind of with a similar group of people to a different place, and we mastermind our business problems. And so everybody gets half an hour, and all of the people there mastermind. So the idea is that instead of working on your own problem with just one of you, you have 24 people with different experiences, different businesses working on your problem. And it's pretty cool, but it's a really big personal development thing too. We did a cacao ceremony, there's meditations, inner child work. I just opened up childhood wounds in front of these.
Love it. I love it.
What were strangers. That. Yeah, it's a good time, but I honestly cried a lot. It was a lot. Found some shadows that I didn't know existed. So when I came home so tired, everyone's like, how was your vacation? I was like, no. I'm just way more tired than if I had just stayed and worked. So there's that. And then basically I had a day. And then today was coaching all day at a tournament called Pulls for Parkinson's. So it's a fundraiser tournament all day during the school day. Coaches are allowed to play. So I got in there for a couple points, which is fun. Shout out to Mosscrop. They played really well. We got our first wins today for the season. We've been very close. And I think a lot of things were just kind of clicking. Everybody was contributing. We learned a lot more about how to have composure and be spirited on the field. So shout out to my little squad. They're super cute. Love them.
Yeah, I like the coaching or the idea of coaches being able to play with the players. Maybe because they might see you just on the sidelines with the clipboard, and they don't know that you can sling the disc around and you can do a little few things. So now players can see it in action. So I do.
Yeah, I threw a lot of dumps. Ooh, I threw an assist. I felt a little guilty about it, but the person on my team, I believe it was Allison, she was so open twice. And so I was like, I got to throw this and reward the good cut. So I feel bad about contributing. So I was just trying to move the disc and help them kind of flow on the field, but such is life. When you're open, you can't not take the shot.
I hear what you're saying, and it's good to hear your ultimate experience there. We're gonna keep the intro short today, it sounds like, because we got lots to come. So AUDL kind of preview with the different coaches involved. We got some news. The news I'm excited to talk about especially. So we're gonna head there right now.
We now have breaking news.
Welcome to your news section. And so this news section, it's quite a bit about college. And I know you love College Ultimate, Theo. So why don't you start breaking down what happened with McGill?
So first of all, McGill, I'm going to say this to you. We love that you're interacting with us so much on Instagram. Danie, you see it. They're tagging us all the time, sending us messages.
They're my fave.
Like, come on, McGill. We love you. We've posted reels about you. Ulti-World has as well. We're stoked about your team. We want to see, hopefully there's some film of the women's team too, so we can get their highlights going. But yeah, McGill Open, finishing second in pool play, losing to the pool winners UMass 10-9 Zudisk, perennial nationals contender. That game is actually on the YouTube verse. I was given a link to an unlisted link, private link there. But UMass did break to Force University and eventually win. So tight game there. They beat Maine in quarters, then lost to Brown in the semifinals, and would go down to UMass 15-7 in the third place game. So they finished fourth, seeded fourth. So McGill, we'll see you at regionals, and let's see you make some noise in the New England region. Let's go.
That's sweet. I feel like they're kind of like my little sweetheart teams now back east, because I don't know a lot about all these teams, but I'm such a fan of both of these squads. So can you break down what happened with the McGill women's team?
Yeah, McGill women's, there was a close loss. I'm going to assume there's a lot of wind here, because I assume this wasn't, I don't know what happened because we weren't there, but trying to get some more information. But 5-4 was the score, losing to New Hampshire. Sounds like a just up and down game. And unfortunately, they lost to New Hampshire there, but would take down Rhode Island and UMass and get the 5th spot, holding their seed. Let's go. So both teams going to regionals. And that's exciting stuff on the East Coast, or East adjacent, because, the real East Coasters don't like when we say that. Ontario, Quebec is East Coast, because we're really not that east when, Nova Scotia or Prince Edward Island, they're talking and they're just looking at us shaking their heads. So anyways, we'll actually go to the real West Coast here and talk about your favorite teams. Or I should say your favorite team now, UBC, right? So you're a UBC fan, of course. So why don't you talk about them?
I love all of those teams equally, you could say. So yeah, both the UBC squads and the UVic squads were down at conferences or sectionals, and UBC women's team ended up finishing second in theirs, which is dope. So they had strong scores the whole day, but they ended up losing to UW 8-13 in the final, which is kind of a convincing win. I know UW is one of the stronger teams. So did you have any thoughts when you saw that score, Theo?
I mean, I know I'm on the hype of the UW team because I've edited a couple of their games. Everyone knows about Abby Hecko now, I feel like, and she's a big name, but there's other players there that are involved that I've seen in their highlights that are making plays for them. So, both teams are ranked really high in the Ulti-World Power Rankings. So we take those very seriously here on the podcast. So that's a good matchup. And UBC, you're just going to have to get them again, either at regionals or maybe nationals.
Yes, absolutely. So unfortunately, the University of Victoria women's team did not advance to regionals. From what we can see, there was only 4 bids in that region or in that section. And it kind of seemed like they didn't play out to the 4th bid, which is very confusing because every time I've ever played, it's always a game to go for all of the bid spots. So I'm not really sure what happened there, or if we maybe got something wrong, but UVic women ended up losing to Western in quarters. And they ended up winning their next game, but it wasn't a bid game. So if we have this wrong, please let us know. We'd love to update everybody. So on the open side, UVic Open lost to Western 8-10. They ended up finishing 4th, but they also ended up beating UBC in pool play 9-5, which is a pretty convincing score. So UBC also went 1-2 in pool play, and they ended up going 5th in the end. So both the UVic Open and the UBC Open teams advanced. Theo, any thoughts about any of the stuff that I just said?
I just want to let's get the film going of different regional tournaments. Excited to see all that. I feel like there's different camera ops that set up, and it's field level, and it's just they're just going to the game to goes and seeing what's up. So definitely be checking out the Twitter. The teams that are going, Canadian teams. Give us updates. Danie killed it at University Nats, giving out the updates. So Danie, I feel like you want to do that again with regionals. I know you love the U.S. tournaments, so you just want to be tweeting out. Actually, we don't use Twitter, so Instagram storying out all the results and stuff. So please do that.
I agree. Keep us in the know, because everybody wants to know. It's a little tag, and then we can share with all of our friends. So Theo, you wrote this next thing in capitals, in caps locks. Red Flag announced their roster, and on the women's side, there wasn't as many shifts. A lot of their kind of core group of women stayed. What are you excited about here?
Well, first off, yeah, their core stayed. I saw the Twins play at UCI, and not just the Twins, but a lot. The way that they set up, and we've talked about this, the way they set up their women bracket, and just like how it disrupted so many things in the final when I commentated that was really cool to see, and a different strategy that I had not really seen previously. So definitely stoked that that's returning. And then they add Will. I'm gonna call him Will I Am Vu. Will I Am Vu. That's that's your nickname now. And Will I Am Vu from the good old Furious days. And then I hope I'm saying his name right. Gagan Chatha. He was known as, I think, the Claw or something when Liam Grant was commentating at U23 Worlds. I'm not sure if you remember this, 2015. They were all loving Gagan Chatha, and he was going off. So
It's in our intro, right? It's in our intro song.
Wait, Danny, don't tell everyone that I don't rewatch the episodes after we record it, because now you just exposed me.
Yeah. I always expose you, so it's okay. I feel comfortable here. So you're excited about those two names. What do you think they're going to add to this roster besides a bit of height, which I think was necessary on the open side or on the men's side?
Yeah, I think they're adding height and they're adding the experience, right? So playing with TC, I know Will Vu's played with Banana Cutters at Worlds as well. So just like that experience is going to help, because I know they had a lot of young players. They had some vets, but I think that will balance it out. Excited for Red Flag. I've continually crowned them as the mixed team to be the first Canadian team in that division to make it to USAU. So Red Flag, still waiting for you to get your shot there, and hopefully this year this is the year.
Just in case we get fact checked, I don't know if that would be totally accurate. There might have been other teams that have made it, just not in like the very recent history. So
yes. Sorry, not the first Canadian mixed team, just the next one to make it. Fact check me right now. The next
Batch was like his fingers were on the keyboard. He was like starting to say actually, and then I was like defense, and I blocked him. So Batch, that was a block.
Yeah, that was a block.
Got you.
Definitely not the first Canadian mixed team to make it, but I'm just saying the next one, because we haven't had it in a long time. Depending on how you define long. So let's see it happen. That's all I gotta say.
Well, we're going to be talking a little bit about tryouts. I know the women's combine for Vancouver is going to be this next upcoming weekend, and things are kind of starting to move everywhere. I think Furious has one of their first tryouts tonight. In fact, I know that Ari left already. So they're having it tonight, and they're kind of doing
real news,
confirmed,
not fake news.
And they're kind of doing a bunch of like scrimmages over a series of time. And so it's pretty interesting how they do their tryout process. I actually like it. It's pretty fun. So what about in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, neck of the woods. GOAT, the GOAT, is having their tryouts this weekend. I know as of this recording, it is really bad outside. Like, it was snowing yesterday. I'm not sure what it's like in Vancouver, but it wasn't great weather yesterday. It was like rainy today, cold, like maybe like 3 or 4 degrees or something like that. And Union's having their tryouts, or the mixed system in Toronto's having their tryouts right now, probably wrapping up at the time of this recording. But it does not look great. They shared a story on their Instagram. It looked awful. It's at Downsview Park, this really open place with lots of wind. It just looked terrible. So,
oh my gosh.
So good luck to everyone.
Sunny and beautiful.
Yeah. Good luck to everyone trying out. That's all I got to say about that.
Wow. Okay. World Games had a training camp, like the West version, I think maybe a week or two ago here, and they got to play against Red Flag, and somebody on Red Flag was filming a lot of the points, and it did seem like Red Flag ended up winning that game, and there were some really sick highlights from it. So hopefully that those stories still live on their Instagram somewhere, because it was pretty fun to see everybody out there playing. And I know that the World Games team has to pick up quite a few players, people that have maybe played World Games in the past, or Traffic Furious type of players. So it was a very high level mixed game, which I was regretfully unable to go watch. It would have been so fun. But there's also another one happening again in your neck of the woods. Yeah,
I'm gonna try to make it there. I'm not gonna make the promise here on the podcast, but I did reach out to Carl already and talked about, hey, could I come and do what you did, Danny, film a little Instagram live? So we'll see if that happens. Depends on the schedule here, but there is 2 days. we're hoping for some good weather. It's looking like it might be a little bit of rain, so and cold. So honestly, I thought we were out of winter here, and there was snow yesterday, and it was just terrible. So yeah,
That's
terrible.
unfortunate. The sunburn that I have on my face was actually from today and not from Mexico, believe it or not.
Oh, you were in Mexico.
So,
I was wondering where you were, so that's good to know.
Puerto Vallarta is very nice.
You're on a boat as well, like a large boat.
That was like the fun part.
Okay.
So on the last day, we got to do like the screw personal development. Let's have some tequila on a ship and go snorkeling and play ultimate on the beach. It was grand. If my juniors are listening to this, I had soda water and journaled and did not partake in the partying aspect.
Yeah, sparkling water for sure.
If you are not from Ontario, Quebec, or BC, and we don't talk about you very much in this news section, we need you to like tag us and stuff, DM us, because if we don't see it on Instagram, we don't really know what's happening, and we want to like talk about these other teams. So this is your call. Please reach out to us.
Yeah, club chats are back on. So messages have been sent. Teams have been liking the message. So DM us after you like the message to give us some news. That's all.
Absolutely. So I know that you talk about the AUDL in this episode. So do you want to kind of give us like a quick 2-second what people can look forward to before we head to the ad?
Now, you're going to hear from each coach individually. Well, Ottawa is going to be together, but we're trying something a little different than last year. So we're going to interview with Jon Hayduk from the Royal, Adrian Yearwood of the Rush, and then Hagan Riglin and Laura Storey of the Ottawa Outlaws. So you get to like a more focused interview with both of them. This was recorded when Danie was doing some great personal development. So Danie was getting her personal development on. I was getting my interview on. It's all good. So we'll see you right after this short message. This episode is brought to you by Be Ultimate Apparel. Based out of Vancouver, BC, Be Ultimate is climate neutral certified and designs products that are built to perform. I personally love my 2 Be Ultimate Sun hoodies, and I rock them wherever I go. If you want to learn more about Be Ultimate, start your custom team order, or check out any of their ready-for-purchase collection, you can head over to beultimate.ca.
Hey, this is Edward Glow, captain of Vancouver Red Flag, your 2021 Ultimate Canada Invitational Mixed Division Champions, and you're listening to the Huckin A podcast, your coast-to-coast guide for all things Canadian Ultimate.
All right, we're here in the main event. First of 3 we got. So we got the Montreal Royal head coach Jon Hayduk on. Really excited for this interview. So, Jon, why don't you introduce yourself, talk about your coaching career, maybe some accolades, but whatever you want to share with the Huckin audience here.
Well, thanks for having me. I've been coaching for 16 years now. Started in Vancouver at high school level. I've done 5 national team tours. Played 8 years of Furious and competitive and open and mixed for over a decade. And I've really just seen the full spectrum of roles and positions, from starting D-line to a bench player that goes to Sarasota and plays a point. So I feel that breadth of experience has really helped me as a coach and success over these years.
Yeah, sounds good. We got a lot of playing experience in the building through Jon here. So we're going to get right into it. Talk about your team, the Montreal Royal. Unless you've been living under a rock, and for the fans out there, you know that Montreal had a very successful Canada Cup season there. And so the audience knows you dropped only a couple games and you won the title. So what does last season mean to you as a coach and also to the rest of the team?
Very different things. It was my first full season with an adult team. I had coached some under 24 teams, but those national experiences are just different in length and how you approach the team building and whatnot. I think for the team, the success against Toronto throughout the entire season was a real highlight for them. I think that's always been a challenge. It's been a dragon for them, and so to have that consistent performance and to get those results, you could see happiness that it created. I think from my perspective, we had some different goals and outcomes that we were looking to achieve, and I was really happy with where we ended up at the end of the season, with just in terms of how we approach the game and how we approach each other as teammates, how we talk to each other and how we talk to ourselves, and really just trying to change the standard for what it means to play Open Ultimate in Montreal. So, and I think we were very successful at that. So that was my success.
Yeah, and for those in the audience, John and I have had many conversations, and I know we talk a lot about goals and things like that. So we'll definitely get to that in the interview, John. But first off, now that the off season has kind of come and gone, seasons at the time of this recording a couple of weeks away. What has the off season preparation been like for the team, for you as a coach as well?
It's been good. It's been challenging because we left our season off on a real high, and there's a lot of excitement around the season. And with that, people just want to play more and play constantly. And we really tried to impart the importance of taking a break, going to do other sports, other activities, maybe play once a week, but we had our off-season training, strength and conditioning, and trying to get the bodies ready. But we wanted to give the mind a break. So we really delayed our tryouts and encouraged people to do less Frisbee over the winter, which is kind of counterintuitive. But we do have a very long season ahead of us. I do expect most of these players to be competing into October. And so that body and mind management is a priority this year.
Yeah, sounds good. And you alluded to the we part. So right now it's just John here, as you can see on your screen there in the audience. But John, you also have a couple others on your coaching staff. So why don't you give them a quick shout out and just kind of talk about what they bring to the program?
Isa LeMay, and she's come back for a second year. She's always the voice of reason and has provided a great balance. And we really do think similarly in that, she does challenge me on things when I trip up, but we're very much in sync with how we approach a game and how we think. And we're joined this year by Julie Tremblay. And she's going to be joining us, focusing on the defensive side of things. She's coached for a number of years at basketball and whatnot, and tons of Frisbee experience. So she's got a good combination of skills there, and we're excited to see how that all works out.
Yeah, you got some Montreal, Quebec legends right there as well on your team. And speaking of legends, you return most of the core of your championship team. I think you're missing a couple pieces, but for the most part, your core is intact. What does that continuity mean for your team as you take on this year, especially the rest of the East Division with all the American teams coming to town and you traveling there as well?
I think the continuity was our key to success last year, and it always helps. It means that we start practices and in a week or two, we can cover all of the strategies that we introduced last year, and we get into the refining and tweaking stages of practices a lot sooner. The standards are all there and understood, and it's easier to integrate the new pieces into an established culture and system, rather than having 25 new people all learning a new coach and a new way of looking at it. I think continuity is going to be our key to success for sure.
And along with that continuity, you mentioned a couple new additions. So what can fans expect from those new players? I know there's some that are listed as additions, but not necessarily rookies. So maybe some people coming back as well. But what can we expect from the new additions? I know it's going to be hard, John, but any players you can give shout outs to so that, the AUDL fans in the audience can keep an eye out for them when they watch Montreal Royal games?
We've got two returning rookies, players that had made the team in years past, had to step away for various reasons. I think one of them was for COVID reasons. In Charles Aslan and Philip Besson. I coached Phil on the Team Canada under 24s, and they're both incredibly athletic and very intelligent players. So they just make great reads on the fields and are just shockingly fast. So they're not true rookies to the team. They've been around the community for a few years, and so I expect them to sort of slot in pretty easily. We got Hayden Stone. He's played last year, had some success in Austin. He was named to the Royal in 2020, but it didn't quite work out. So yeah, he's an incredibly smooth and intelligent player, and is deceptively athletic. And we expect some big plays from him. I think our true rookie that I'm excited to see him, the impact he's going to have is Julien Burnett from Sherbrooke. Again, another player that kind of looks like he just lopes around the field, but man, he can accelerate. He has great reads, good vertical, great intuition. His throws are there. He certainly doesn't carry himself as a rookie. So I'm looking forward to some big things from him.
It's funny you say that, John, because when we hear the word rookie, we often think kind of like wide-eyed, not really been there before. But a lot of these players have that experience. I know you spoke of Hayden Stone earlier. He's also played at the university level with McGill and, played with the Soul, I believe, correct, in the AUDL. So he brings obviously that experience as well. So that sounds great. And as I alluded to earlier, speaking about the East Division, you got different teams coming into town now. So that's really exciting. I know you could say you're looking forward to all the matchups, but is there a particular team that you're excited for to kind of be able to see what the Royal can do against them?
The easy answer is we're looking forward to playing any team other than Ottawa and Toronto.
That's fair. After last year.
all due respect to our brethren and local Canadians, it was a lot last year. It was a different challenge of playing them 16 times in the season. That being said, I think the Evil Empire is certainly, it's one on the hit list for a lot of the players. New York being full of big names with big accolades and just really good players. I think a lot of the team is looking forward to prove themselves against those guys again. I know on my part, I haven't played Pony in like 6 years. So the team is certainly different than it was back when I was a player, and I just have had no experience with them. So I'm looking forward to matching up against that coaching staff as well. But I think they are really the benchmark. Them and Carolina are the benchmark.
Yeah, for sure. And we talked a little bit about expectation earlier, but how do you manage that as a coach? Maybe give us kind of a walkthrough in your mind of what you do as a coach of managing those expectations. Maybe those players will be really gassed up and ready to go for the game, and how do you kind of bring them back down and do all that?
That's a taboo word, Theo. We don't use that word.
Oh yeah, we don't use that word.
we have no expectations. Nothing is going to happen for us. And I think that's really important, whether it be at practice or in any game we play. It is about carrying ourselves to our own standards, monitoring our own behavior, our decisions, and whatnot. And it really does focus us on things that we can control, right? Expectations are not allowed.
Yeah, so fans, now you know. I'm never going to use that word. I've learned this lesson before, John. So clearly haven't learned it enough. So I will not use the word expectation.
It is a very easy word to slip into our language, but when you think about it, it does betray that level of this is just going to happen for us. we expected to beat this team, or we expected this is going to happen. And when that doesn't, it creates an incredible mental challenge for the team and for the players. And you really are just taking your focus outside yourself and outside your team and to things that you can't control. And that's usually problematic.
There you go. And for the potential coaches in the audience, can you kind of explain, if you're able to, like what language would you substitute, or what words or framing do you use instead of that, so that you can kind of give the players the proper things to focus on?
Insofar as expectations?
Yeah, insofar as like
I would
expectations and those things.
It's standards, not expectations, is our one of our mottos. If we hold ourselves to our standard of work ethic, of focus, of awareness, of decision making, then whatever happens in the game, it happens because we have done our best. We've held ourselves to that standard of play, that standard of competing, standard of sportsmanship, and then the result doesn't really matter because you have done your best. You've held yourself to your standard. And so it's always been a challenge since day one of like, winning shouldn't matter. If you're focused on the scoreboard, then like you're focused on the wrong thing. But how you actually get there is a lot harder. It's easier to say and hard to do.
Very easy to just say it out and put it out in the universe.
and one of the things that we used to do was games to 3, right? So we're not focused on winning a game; it's just winning these small micro games, and that was useful, but it still framed it in a way of, I need to win this game. I need to do. It still is externalizing that rather than just holding yourselves accountable to this base level of performance. And so it is really just trying to reinforce those standards at every practice and every game, and just making sure that we are constantly improving those standards and just trying to push ourselves week after week. And then when we get to a game, it doesn't matter who we're playing.
I like that. I didn't expect, John, when I talked to you or when I was coming into the interview, I was expecting to talk a lot about the Royale, but now you've kind of changed into the coaching philosophy, which we really do enjoy on the podcast. So we know definitely that there are ultimate orgs and coaches that listen. So appreciate you sharing that. But you talked about standards, and anyone who watches the AUDL knows Montreal fans, they're some of like the high standard of kind of what AUDL fandom is about. You can clearly hear it in the Canada Cup final if you watch the broadcast, the loud cheering and the atmosphere. So what has the organization been able to do to foster this kind of tie to the community and just this fandom that's there in Montreal?
Well, the owners do a really good job of connecting with the community. There's a bunch of tournaments that they run. There's events. There's youth clinics. They've connected with all the local organizations. The ownership has done a really good job of trying to integrate itself and connect with the local communities throughout Quebec, not just in Montreal. And I think it's also combined with just one of the stereotypical one of the character traits that I've noticed from Montreal players and just from Montreal. They're just really passionate. They play with fire and energy, and they cheer and they celebrate. It is just a very exuberant and outgoing demographic. Like this is just who they are, and so you see it in their play. You see it in the stands. I know that their support means a ton. It's great to see, and we try our best to insulate ourselves as players from that. Because if you lose yourself into the crowd, again, your focus is outside your own performance and what you need to do. But it's hard not to every once in a while look up or to hear the cheers and really gain a lot of energy from that. So it's been great.
Yeah, and probably very different, John, is because you alluded to earlier about your time in Sarasota, bench player kind of playing at USA clubs there. And there's some sidelines, but this is completely different with that setup. So the first game that you had as a coach with that crowd, did you feel anything different, or you're just kind of business as usual there?
Business as usual. I've had my fair share of world championships and crowds and experiences back in Vancouver with I know the world championships in 2008 at Thunderbird Stadium. That was an intense crowd. And just various sports experiences. I'm good at just tuning that out and just focusing on what the process we go through with the players, and that I try and do as well, is to allow yourself the 10-15 seconds to focus on it and appreciate it, and then let it go. Right, you take your breath, and it then just disappears. Right, and if your mind ever does slide over back onto the stands, or you see someone or there's cheering and whatnot, just be like, okay, yep, nope, bring it back here. And so it didn't have much of an effect for me.
Yeah, John, I know we have a limited time here, but I could just ask you so many questions about mental performance and those things, because it sounds like that's something that you really pride yourself and your coaching staff in as well. So sounds like the players are in good hands here. And so we'll kind of wrap it up with a chance for you to share any other last thoughts or stories or anecdotes, whatever you want to share to the Huckin audience about the Montreal Royal or Jon Hayduk.
It's no entertaining stories, other than I would have to say that this my time in Montreal, I was thinking about my decision to come here, the timing. My Montreal age is exactly the same age as COVID, and coming here 10 days before that all broke out. My entire experience here has been in this pandemic environment. And so it's been nice to sort of see things open up. It's weird to have my experience tied entirely to this pandemic. I don't know. It's the one thing that sort of jumps out for me is the reward that comes from taking a risk. My moving out here was absolutely terrifying. Leaving behind 40 odd years of history and friends and work experience and familiarity, all the time I'd invested into the various clubs out there, and just coming out here with a couple bags and just trying something entirely new. It was really scary, and it was 100% a life-saving choice, and it has been very rewarding. And I think that's something to really, again, it's easier to say than it is to do, but those terrifying choices are usually the right one to take that risk, to make that leap. And I think, be it a player or anyone out there listening, if you're ever having that debate, take the risk.
Take the risk. John, I know exactly what you're talking about. Obviously, I didn't move across the country, but I quit my career in teaching to pursue a career in sport. So I get the risk aspect, and it's been rewarding for me as well. So appreciate you sharing that. We wish you good luck. I'm trying to balance all the hats in these 3 interviews, wishing everybody the same amount of luck. So we're excited for the AUDL season to start, and I'm sure we'll speak again as John alluded to. He talked about the club as well, but we're focusing on AUDL here. But I'm sure we'll have someone from the Montreal club that I'm very excited about this year, Mephisto, on at some point. Dan and I will be talking to them. So thanks for coming on, John, taking time out of your day, speaking about your team. And like I said, good luck.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, we're back with our second of 3 main events here. So we got I'm going to say Rush legend, GOAT legend. I got to hype you up, Adrian. So Adrian Yearwood, if you've been watching the AUDL or club, you've seen Adrian sling it around as a handler for both of those teams. So, Adrian, how are you doing today? I know some good weather outside, and you'd rather be outside than talking to me, maybe. But thanks for being here. Tell us about yourself and your coaching / playing experience.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I got my rocks out being outside earlier today, so I went for a nice walk, which was excellent. Got a little holiday going on. But it's my second year coaching now with the Rush, which is pretty fun. Second season coaching, I think third year coaching, but the first year we didn't really get to do much. So sort of new at it still, which I'm enjoying. Prior to that, I had coached one season with Uproar, which is a juniors team in Toronto. And prior to that, I had played for a long time, as you mentioned, with GOAT and the Toronto Rush and Team Canada and at various events over the years. So lots of playing experience, which was extremely fulfilling, some of the best times of my life, and interested to get some more coaching experience under my belt too and see where that journey takes me.
Yeah, so Adrian, we're going to hop right into it, talk about your coaching experience. So I know I'm going to be a dead drum here, so I'm going to preface this by apologizing a little bit here. Toronto, the uncharacteristic 0-3 start. The regular season didn't end the way you wanted, or the season in general, as you had a tight loss to the Royal. So you've had some time to reflect on the season. What are some things you learned about as a coach from that experience?
It was obviously it was definitely an eye-opening experience for a lot of the guys, myself included, because, we started off a season 1-1 one year, maybe even I think the worst we've ever started off a season, the first two games was 1-1. So it was definitely a weird one to go 0-2, and then to go 0-3 afterwards was like, wow, this is kind of crazy. But it was a good, as I said, eye-opening experience, because it was one of those things where we had relied on the championship pedigree of the Rush for a long time. Or maybe not relied on it, but assumed that it would always be there. And so it was very interesting to kind of have a lot of new personnel on the team, and some shifting. People had been out for a number of years, and we weren't really able to train. And I think myself included, we kind of assumed that we would just walk in and kind of dominate like we had always dominated, and it wasn't really happening that way. But what it did give us was a lot of perspective, and we sat back, we refocused, we worked week to week and really kind of stripped it back down to the basics. And I thought by the end of the season, we were a way, 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 way better team than we were at the beginning of the season. So even though we did lose a tight game to Montreal in the finals of the Canada Cup, I was super, super happy with the arc of the season. And, from where we started to where we ended, I think it was a testament to the work ethic and the work that we put in throughout the season.
Yeah, and obviously better results, but it sounds like better potentially team dynamic as well, and just kind of everything that happened. So if you follow the Rush on any of their social media, you may have seen their roster start to trickle out, and now looks like it's out. So you can't help but notice, Adrian, I can't help but notice, I'm sure other people did as well, certain names. Obviously your name is not on that list, but as a player, but Cam Harris, Thompson McKnight, Carroll, Bomber, Jeff Powell, Nate Hurst, I could keep going, but Mike McKenzie, there's a lot of names missing. So how has the team dynamic now shifted, knowing that you've brought in some new talent and the absence of some veterans, Rush legends, established stars, whatever you want to say about them, but how's the team dynamic now shifted, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely shifted because, you just have new personnel. I mean, even from last year to this year, we only have, I think, 9 returners, and 5 of those were rookies last year. So, I mean, it's realistically speaking from those, let's say our 2017 season where we, had a tight battle with San Francisco in the finals, there's 0 people on the team who were on that team, So it's like we're in a very different spot, and that's okay. I think that the team dynamic, it's still building right now. We haven't had a ton of time to kind of coalesce as a group, But I'm excited to see that journey as well, because you have sort of established pockets who had played together on various teams, whether it's in Durham or in Toronto or in the environs. So I'm excited to see how the dynamic kind of grows and changes and shifts over the season. And I'm happy that we do have, myself and Sachin and Jim and, Phil Turner and Luke and guys who have had some overlap with those, with players who were involved in those early stages. So we do have some continuity in that way. So because I've always loved the dynamic on the team, and I've always loved sort of the team vibe and ethos, and I'd like to preserve that as much as possible, because I think it's been an incredibly positive group and a very positive experience for almost everybody involved, and I'd like to keep that going for sure.
Yeah, Adrian, you alluded to a couple names there, Phil and Luke specifically, but also another new captain as well, Kevin J. So you have some new captains now who've all played on the team for at least 2 seasons. Not a lot compared to some of the legacies that other players have left, but how have they stepped up as leaders on the team, and what have you seen from their growth? Playing with them, or as a player now, as a coach, you're seeing them grow as captains as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited about all 3 of them being captains of the team. They each bring something very different to the table, and I'm interested to see how they mesh together and how they each can use their different skill sets to kind of shepherd the team throughout the season. Phil is a guy who's a real kind of rags to riches story on the rush. I mean, honestly, like from the time when I first met him, I remember, I think it was in 2016 or maybe 2017. I think it was 2017 in Ottawa, and he was playing on Grand Trunk. And I remember meeting him at the party, and this other guy, Andy Collins, was like, yeah, you know who this guy is? This is Phil. Like, he's going to be on your team in sometime. And I was like, oh, cool. But I had never met Phil before. And then next year when he came to tryouts, I was like, oh, yeah, I heard about this guy. This guy's good. Like, we should definitely take this. And, he ran like a gazelle, or not a gazelle. Like a giraffe.
I was going to say gazelles are more elegant. So.
Yeah, I was about to say gazelles are good. No, it wasn't good. It was weird. It was mechanically strange, but obviously had a lot of potential, and worked his ass off. Got in the gym, got the training that he needed from Mike Hayduk with HSP, and improved his mechanics dramatically. And then fast forward to last season, he's one of the most dominant defenders in the league. Almost won the blocks title with 4 less games than half of the league. So, I mean, that just goes to show you what that kind of work ethic puts. And I think him being in a leadership position is a perfect kind of person to be in a leadership position that everyone can look at and be like, listen, he didn't just walk in here and be super talented and get handed this role on a silver platter. Like, he came in and worked his way up to the point where now he's a leader on the team. So I think that's a great story for Phil. Luke is similar but different. Similar in the sense that he kind of worked his way up, because Luke was coming to games when he was like 16 years old at the beginning, 15 years old, maybe even younger than that. And I think Sachin brought him into the locker room to like meet the guys, and we were all like, "Hey, what's up?" And it was just this kid, and then was obviously really into Ultimate and came and tried out and made the team, and then became a really integral part of our offense. And just due to being such a student of the game and being an extremely intelligent and excellent player, and he's going to be another guy that's going to obviously be a cornerstone of the team in the years to come. So excited to see him grow and step into that role. And Kevin J is an interesting story for a very different reason, where he kind of didn't really start playing Ultimate until a lot later in life, later than a lot of those other guys anyways. And so it's nice to have a little bit of a more mature presence in the locker room and in the leadership group as well, kind of have a little bit of inherent authority in that way. And to top it off, Kevin is just such a kind and warm and awesome energy that really makes people want to be friends with him and to trust him, and so that's definitely like some excellent qualities in the leadership position. So I'm very, very, very happy with the 3 captains that we have this year, and I'm excited to see how they mesh together and lead us into the season.
Appreciate the shout outs, first of all, to the captains. I know a couple of them are avid Huckin fans, that I know for a fact. So they'll be definitely listening for the shout out. But along with your captain's announcement, you also announced some additional coaches. So I know you had someone last year as well, Jaleel. I'm not sure if he's going to be helping out at all, but you actually have 2 coaches that were formally announced by the league or on the league website as well. So what's the new coach dynamic been as well, now that you have some people to bounce some ideas off of and have some more support?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Honestly, both Jamie and Michael are such excellent additions to the coaching staff. I mean, I like to think that I'm a good, or at least passable tactical coach, and on the field, I'm, can call lines, I can do all that, but administratively speaking, I struggle. And so it's been really, really great to have guys there who not only are good at that, but also are good at that in this context. I mean, both of them have lots of coaching experience outside of this, from various teams. Michael coaching Boat and York University, and Jamie coaching Hound. And, now he was coaching the Team Canada Beach Ultimate Team. I think that got canceled, sadly, but to show you that he does have coaching, lots of coaching experience, a valuable coaching experience. And so not only can I lean on them administratively, and we can sort of share the load in that sense, but they also have a very valuable contributions on the tactical side as well. And so it's been really great to work through the playbook and work through our strategies, and to, hear their input, because you kind of get, when you've been doing something for so long in one year. I was reading this blog post from this job website, and it was for this consulting agency. And they were saying, our whole thing is that we want to get away from people saying, oh, well, the way we do things here is, or the way that we've always done things here is, because, it's so hard to see where the problems are when it's the way that you've always done things. It's worked for you for so long, so of course you will still do that. But it's nice to get that outside perspective when you think that something makes sense, and you've done it for 10 years. And so, yeah, obviously it makes sense. And then someone comes and says, well, why do you do that way? And you're like, I don't know, other than the fact that we've always done it that way. So it's been good to sort of challenge those assumptions that we have, that things are the right way. And even if we do end up saying like, okay, yeah, it does make sense that we do it that way, it's still good to sort of always be looking to improve and looking for areas that we can say, okay, yeah, that makes sense, and we can keep that, but this over here, yeah, we can see how that's redundant, or where we can tweak that to make it a little stronger. So I've really, really loved their input and their contributions, and I hope that they're going to be around for a long time, because I think we're building something very cool here.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of kind of like building something cool, you're going to have to build the team up to get ready for the talent-filled, I'm going to call it, East Division. A lot of teams bolstering their squads, and of course the big name being the New York Empire. We won't just talk specifically about them, but in terms of all the teams that you're about to play, how has the team started to prepare for that increased level of competition? Obviously last year you only played the Canadian teams. Not just increased level of competition, but different competition too, like more teams to scout, more teams to prepare for.
Yeah, well, interestingly, there's no difference. Because right now, and this was a lot of last year as well, up until the very end, and this is how we're approaching this year as well, is that we are solely right now anyways, focused on ourselves, because we don't even know who we are yet. So we can't be worried about what everybody else is doing. Once we figure out who we are and what we're doing, then we can look at what other people are doing and start to adapt there. But I think we're trying to focus on ourselves right now. And there are conversations happening, in terms of those things, how we respond to different situations. Oh, this is what Montreal does to us sometimes with this type of mark, and this is how we're going to get out of it. And so we've had some of those preliminary conversations about specific teams and their schemes. But at the end of the day, especially personnel wise, anything like that, we're not worried about that. I'm not worried about that. We got to worry about ourselves.
Yeah, it sounds like you're, Adrian, I'm going to say like a young teenager, just like gone through puberty and, you're trying to figure out, who am I? So you're asking yourself that about your team, like, who are we? And you're looking around, new body parts are coming in or developing, right? And you're
exactly.
trying to figure that out.
You're like my mom being like, when are you gonna find a nice girl to settle down with? And I'm like, man, mom, these girls are great, but I gotta figure out. I gotta do me first,
So that's essentially the team right there. I get that. Maybe this question won't help you with that, but because you've had some time to prepare, but obviously with a lot of rookies on the squad, there's going to be certain players that AUDL fans have never heard of, for sure, like outside of the Toronto GTA area. So, Adrian, I could give you an hour to shout out every player, but unfortunately we don't have that time. So I know it's going to be tough, but can you shout out a couple players that you won't obviously know if they'll have a big year, but you maybe foresee it, or just people that have been impressing you in practice that you can kind of give a shout out to? Once again, to all the players out there, he wish he could shout out everyone, but we just don't got the time.
Yes, so true. That's so true. Every single person is deserving of a shout out right now. But okay, so I would say there's two guys that immediately jump to my mind who were actually both on the team last year, but I think are poised to make great leaps for two different reasons. Number one, the first person I'm going to talk about is James Lewis. I think his brother Wilkie Lewis is maybe more recognizable because he's played on the team for longer. But James Lewis played on the team for the first time last season, and he's an excellent player. Very tall, quick, smart guy, good hands, and I have him slotted in this year to play on O. I'm joining the Lewis brothers. I want to have a dynamic brother duo on offense, which I'm very excited about. Even just optically, however they play is icing on the cake. I just want to be able to say, Lewis's, get out there, and then
it's easier for you. It's more ergonomic in what they say.
Way easier for me.
Your voice,
exactly. I gotta save on my syllables, But outside of that, I think James is poised to make some great leaps. He's such a good energy on the field. To talk to him, he's got such a great attitude towards Ultimate, and he wants to learn. He wants to get better. So I'm looking for him to make a great leap on offense. On the defensive side of things, the other guy that I would say I'm going to be looking for to make a great leap, and as I said, for a different reason, is Eli Park. Eli Park is a guy who came out of. Well, I saw him play in juniors actually in 2019 in Edmonton, and he was killing it. He was so good. He was so dominant on the field. And then, obviously we had to take a year off. He came to play for the Rush last year, and there were flashes of what he's capable of, but he was really, really hampered, unfortunately, by injury last year. He didn't really get to play all that much. And therefore didn't get to contribute nearly to the level that I thought that he could. Unfortunately for us, Eli, well, not unfortunately for him, but unfortunately for us, Eli is still in school right now. He's in Kingston, so making practices at this point in the season is tough. So I'm not necessarily expecting him to walk onto the field in game one and dominate in the way that I think that he can dominate. But going forward, once he gets a little bit of practice under his belt, especially with the line that he's going to be playing with, once they start to mesh together, I think he's a guy that can really surprise people that don't know what's going on in Toronto, because nobody would have heard of him. But for me, it won't be a surprise. But I think for a lot of people, they'll be like, "Who the hell is that guy?"
All right, sounds good. What about those are returning players? Do you have any rookies? I know I'm thinking of one rookie in particular who's technically not a rookie to the AUDL.
So I think we're thinking of the same person, which is Ryan Polas, who's coming over here from Ottawa. And Ryan was such a huge piece for them last year on their O-line. And so I'm looking for him to be a huge piece on our line as well, because, he's got big throws. He's shifty, and him and Luke, I think, are going to work really, really well together, along with another rookie to look for, who's an excellent thrower, pretty athletic as well, and will be working with Ryan and Luke there in the backfield on our offensive line, which is Adam Turcotte. And Adam is a longtime player in well, not long time, he's pretty young, but player for a couple of years here in Toronto as well on Grand Trunk. And I think he's a very, very, very gifted thrower already, and he's only going to get better as he gets older and he gets more experience. So he's going to be another guy to watch for.
All right, you gave your rookie shout-outs, Adrian. I know that was hard, so I appreciate that. And yeah, with the young squad, we know Toronto, the fans are passionate about the Rush. They do come to the games, and so now you're kind of pitching it to them. You got to put your marketing hat on here, Adrian. What can fans expect from this new look Rush squad in 2022 when they come to the 6 home games at a varsity stadium in Toronto?
I would say one thing that you could expect is for a very high pace of play. I think in the past, because we had in the past, especially when I was playing, over the years, we had developed such a chemistry with each other, having played together for decade or more. A lot of the guys, especially on the offensive line. And that kind of chemistry and that kind of experience lends itself to being able to really slow down the game and play very methodically and meticulously. And so we really tried to pick people apart in that way. But I think this year, one of the things that we're trying to do is push the pace on both sides of the disc. On both lines and in both settings. So definitely look for an increased pace of play, which hopefully leads to lots of exciting opportunities for layouts and for drama and for, near misses and close calls and just fingertip catches and things like that. So, it should be it should be a pretty exciting year.
Yeah, and what can fans expect from the wardrobe from Coach Yearwood here? Because I know I saw in one of the games you're wearing like full long sleeve dress shirt and pants in the summer. So is that coming back out? Are you going to go maybe the coach polo and shorts this year? Like, what are you thinking about?
No. All I'll say about that is mans is not hot. Mans is never hot.
There you go. So he's ready to rock the dress shirt at all games. I like it.
That's all I got.
Being well dressed there. So Adrian, that kind of wraps up our short preview of the Rush. We like I said, we could spend a long time, but we got time constraints on the podcast. So any other final words you wanted to share with the audience, be it from Toronto, wherever they're listening to this podcast from?
Any words? Don't sleep on us. I think I think we're gonna be a lot better than people expect us to be. I mean, I saw our power rankings came out, and I don't really care what they have to say, but they had us real low, which I guess is fair, because a lot of people they don't know. But I think we got a pretty nice team together, and I think this year is going to be sort of a toss-up. We'll see how we do. Our goals this year are much more process-oriented than results-oriented, which is great. But I think, as we're on like a 3-year plan right now. And I think by year number 3 of this 3-year plan, this team is going to be nasty. So I'm super pumped to be a part of it.
This team is going to be nasty. That's the lasting words there. And the power rankings and stuff, like, I asked John a similar question to that about blocking out noise, or we talked about a little bit. So I'll ask you to kind of finalize it up. How do you kind of keep the players away from that noise of the word expectation, or just like what other people are saying about the team? Like, how do you kind of deal with that?
Well, it's impossible to keep other people keep guys from seeing that or hearing that or thinking about that. You can't tell people not to think about something, because then all they'll do is think about it. But I try to, in that sense, lead by example. Like, I don't give a shit what people say about the team. I don't care what people say about me or my play or anything, or my style or anything. And I've never cared. And so I try to lead by example in that way. Nothing really gets under my skin. But as far as expectations, that was kind of the focus of our last practice. Where after practice we had a nice meeting where we had pizza. Except for the gluten-free boys. Shout out to Rui and Jake. But we talked, we sat around and we had a goal setting session, and we sat around with the team and we set goals for the season. And I think it was a really, really positive vibe for the whole meeting. And we have now our work cut out for us. We've all set our goals, we've set our expectations, and I think we're going to have a successful season because of it.
All right, there you go. The team's gonna be nasty. That's the word there for the audience. So, Adrian, thank you for taking time out of your day. We'll let you get back to enjoying the good weather in Toronto. So, we'll be ready for the home opener April 3rd. It's coming up soon. So, make sure you go grab your tickets or get the subscription or find ways to watch the games. It'll be an exciting AUDL season. So, Adrian, thanks for coming on.
No problem. Take it easy, brother.
All right, welcome back. We're in part 3 of our main events. Big AUDL preview coming at you this week. So now we got 2 of the 3 coaches of the Ottawa Outlaws. Really excited. They had a great season last year, and so we're going to talk all about it. So first off, we're going to welcome Laura Storey and Hagan Riglin to the podcast. First time on the pod, so excited for that. So we're going to get them to introduce themselves, where they've coached, where they've played, just to get a little bit of background. So Laura, let's start with you.
Hi, thanks for having us. Big fan. This is exciting. My name's Laura, and I'm a big fan of the Outlaws, so this is a huge, exciting thing to be part of the coaching team. I've played in the U.S., in Canada, kind of around the world, done Worlds a couple times, most recently with Solstice, a Grand Masters team from Ottawa. And my coaching background includes coaching the Carleton University Ravens. So that's kind of how I led into this.
Sweet. And Hagan, what about you?
You mentioned first time on the podcast. This is my first time on a podcast. So I'm also very excited to be here. So I started playing in 99, so it was a few years back. My first competitive experience, I feel the need to name the fabulous Flying Flamingos from Ottawa. So in 2001, I went to Nationals in Edmonton with the Triple F. It was my first competitive experience at Nationals. The following year, I joined the inaugural roster of Phoenix, and I played Open Ultimate in Ottawa, probably for the next about 10 years. So I also coach-captained U Ottawa during that time while I was doing my undergrad and my master's. And I was coaching the whole time. The whole time I was playing, I was also coaching here and there, whether it was junior leagues or the junior competitive team. I coached OJ, which was before the gender split in the junior division. I coached OJ, and then following years was Capital Punishment, and then changed their name to Ignite. I coached them for 3 years. So, I feel like all of that's been getting me ready for the AUDL. It was like this dream that I think that a lot of us from that time were having. Ultimate was just getting included in the Olympics and the World Games, and we're getting excited about that. And a lot of us were thinking, like, man, Ultimate should be a professional sport. And so it's exciting for me to now be part of an AUDL team and to kind of close that loop, or open another one. I don't know how you want to say it, but
I think you're opening some doors there. It sounds like so. First of all, I love the name. I've played against them back in the day, but Capital Punishment, love the name. Don't know who came out with it, but whoever from Ottawa came out with that name, shout out to you, because that's a sweet name and it plays off obviously the Parliament buildings there and the government. So that's awesome. So before we kind of get going into the 2021 season and obviously this upcoming 2022 season, let's dive a little bit into your coaching. You kind of talked about it already, but in terms of your coaching background, but what got you into coaching? Because that's something I think we do have some aspiring coaches that listen, we hope, to the podcast. So, Hagan, why don't you start first? What got you into coaching? Because it sounds like you were playing as well, inaugural Phoenix team and all that. But what got you into actually coaching and kind of giving back to the youth of tomorrow, or the youth of today, the future of tomorrow, I should say?
Yeah. I think I've always had an appreciation and affinity for supporting others in achieving their goals. And pushing beyond what their capabilities might be right now. It's really validating to see somebody who's working hard, and you can provide them with a piece of information that allows them to unlock some new stuff, and then they grow as either as individuals or as athletes or whatever. So I think that's always been something that's been really rewarding for me personally. I had some success coaching juniors. We made my second year with Ignite. Or it was Capital Punishment at the time. We finished third at Nationals, which was unheard of for a junior program. Ottawa junior programs have continued that success since then, so that's exciting. But I think I wanted to build on those successes. And what brought me to the Outlaws is Eric Hunter. He's always the one. I think anytime the Outlaws are looking for people to come and evaluate at their tryouts, Hunter's always throwing my name in there because I did coach him and play with him back in the day. So thanks, Eric. But once I got there, I was just going to evaluate, right? And evaluate athletes and try and help the team in that way. But I met Laura and I've known Luke for a while, and it just made sense. It just made sense to have those three heads that have a lot in common, but have also a lot of individual strengths to come around the table and to join our forces to support the team. So really, really excited to be working with the people we're working with.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Sounds like we got the hashtag dream team here, the trifecta. So I don't know what you three call yourselves, but you kind of need a name for your group as coaches. So just going to throw that out there for you. But Laura, what about you? It sounds like, you played, I was trying to look at your background a little bit. You've played a lot in the States, which is really exciting. Have you coached in the States as well, or more so just in Canada?
I've only coached in Canada. So I coached the Carleton Ravens, so the B team, and then the whole program, starting in 2017. The pandemic really put a wrench into that back in 2020 when things started to take a turn. I stepped away. It was a bananas time at work, but missed it immediately and joined back coaching Wicked, so the junior girls program here in Ottawa, and we'll be continuing to coach with them this summer. And so coaching Wicked West with Eric Hunter, the celebrity on this call. And to play off of what Hagan said, I got asked to evaluate because I know a lot of the guys who were trying out from the Carleton program. And then when I met Hagan and re-meeting Luke, it like Hagan said, it just felt right. We kind of had an instant affinity and great conversation. So when we were talking about our skills and what we could bring to the team, it all kind of worked. And so I don't think this is something I thought about doing before we had the conversation, but it feels right.
Yeah, sounds good. And I know we talked about this off air, but Ottawa has been, well, obviously last year being successful with their win against Toronto specifically. One of the things to kind of carry to that next level is coaching. So you don't just get one coach this year, you get three Ottawa. So that's pretty exciting. So in terms of, last season, I'm sure both of you kind of know, but for the audience that might not know, Ottawa started out hot, winning both games on the weekend. Momentum was high. And then, put themselves in a good position and ultimately had a chance to make it to the Canada Cup final with a really exciting game. I had a chance to call that game, and it was really exciting to see it at the stadium there where the Redbacks play and just see all the fans. So that was really exciting. So how has the dynamic of the team been this coming year? You're obviously all coming in as kind of new coaches there. They had positive results defeating Toronto and Montreal. Toronto was unable to beat Montreal at all last year, so they only beat Ottawa. So that's something to kind of take solace in and be happy about. So, yeah, what's the team dynamic been like? Whoever wants to kind of answer that first question there.
There's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm and optimism. So done some great work as we start the season to set some goals, some very high goals, aspirational and achievable goals. And I think we're going to meet them. The guys are very committed and are working really hard. I think that's the start. I think there's some disappointment in not winning or making the Canada Cup and winning the Canada Cup because they were right there. So I think they're going to be fighting even harder this year to make that spot.
Yeah, I think I heard some players talking about getting the monkey off their back, finally getting that win against Toronto. If I'm not mistaken, did they also get a win against Montreal last year at one point, right? So
they won 2 against Montreal.
Yeah,
one was a really exciting finish where Montreal had it on their they had it on their end zone and they threw it away, and that's how the game ended. It was very exciting. But yes.
So that idea, the monkey off the back or slaying the dragon or, whatever imagery you want to get for it. But I think that we have some athletes that are really focused. Laura talked about goal setting, and that was like really eye-opening for me as a coach. You always like to see things on the field and athleticism and people moving around. But when people bring the cerebral game, I think it steps things up, and people were really focused in on those conversations that we're having about what we want to do this season. And I think that that focus shows also in a lot of the shape that people are coming to practice with. The fitness session that we did in camp was like it was pretty impressive. There was some hard-working individuals there. So
yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple of the players' Instagrams, and I know Braden Robinson, he's throwing indoors in the net, and Jeremy Hill's putting in work with a lot of the Ottawa guys organizing those workouts on Friday mornings. So they're definitely putting in work. And in terms of putting in work, obviously this year you will be playing not just Toronto, Montreal again. I know all the Canadian teams are just sick and tired of playing each other like 4 times or more, especially through the club season as well. So a fresh faces to be able to see Philadelphia, DC, New York, Boston. So how has the team been preparing for the American competition? Obviously, the big names being Boston, because we haven't seen them yet in the league, and then New York with all their big names and their additions. So are the players really excited to kind of test their mettle against those players?
I think so. I think that they, it's hard to figure out how you're going to match up against those athletes and against those teams in the U.S. until you really get a shot to play against them. But luckily, we have AUDL.tv, so there's lots of content on there for both us as coaches, but also the athletes to kind of see what their on-field matchups are going to be. So there's some opportunities there to figure out. And I think that we've also seen athletes really, our players on the Outlaws really coming in focused on developing skills and working on their fitness and taking advantage of all the time that they've had, pandemic and so on, to just work in increments on increasing, their abilities here and there so that they can bring those things to the team and the team is better.
One of the advantages of having 3 coaches this year is for exactly this situation. We haven't played the U.S. teams. The Toronto and Montreal are a lot of club players. They've played against each other at university level and that kind of thing. The U.S. teams, they haven't played for 2 years and might not have played at all, other than if they were crossing borders. So it will be a great opportunity to coach individual players and look at situational frisbee for the three of us, and be applying plans, solving problems, trying to get those W's. So it's pretty exciting. Thank goodness the pandemic might be opening up restrictions a little bit, that we can actually travel and play new teams.
Yeah, we're going to keep our fingers crossed for that. I for one, am excited to see kind of the cross-country play, even though it's the same division, cross-country. But as you've noticed, by the time of this recording, most of the roster has been announced, or almost all of it. And if you follow it there, fans out in the audience, you'll see that pretty much the core is intact. Like, all their main players are back. So that's really exciting from the team perspective. But what does that mean for you as rookie coaches on the Outlaws to have players that know the system, have been there before, and kind of are bringing you in for that, top-down guidance, but also just, welcome you in with open arms there. So What does that look like now with all those, that continuity? And also, who stepped up as leaders besides the captains, if you could say that as well?
Yeah, I think having 3 captains and 3 veteran captains is incredible and ideal. And so Jer, Nick, and Carson, awesome players, awesome in supporting us as we transition to this coaching role. I think being a coach to a new squad, there's still a lot of learning about individuals, about their systems. But I would say the advantage that I have, and that I believe Luke has, and Hagan has, is that we've all coached some of these folks before, and so we know how they work and how to talk to them and how we can move the needle and push them. So I think while we're new to the Outlaws, I think that there's still a lot of familiarity, and we'll be able to play off of that this year.
Yeah, and in terms of some leaders that might have cropped up that aren't necessarily the captains, the players for me that stick out absolutely is Andy Octoloni. I think the first night of camp, he was having a conversation with Luke and I, making sure that we had his perspective from a player about the things that we may not have seen as evaluators on the sideline, and making sure that players that deserve to shine were getting an opportunity to shine. And it's odd because, well, it's not odd, but Luke and I would look at each other and be like, yeah, we agree with that, and that makes a lot of sense. So it's nice to have Andy's voice. Players that I didn't know personally as much, but that I definitely stuck out for me. Paul Renaud is super positive with his teammates and always kind of out there saying the right things to keep guys smiling and keep guys focused on moving forward. And Alec Arsenault is also a big leader about making sure that once we've talked about something in a huddle, and this is what we want to be implementing, that we're doing that. I've seen him a few times kind of stop things and say, like, "Okay, this is what we talked about. This is what we need to be doing. Let's make sure that we're doing that." So that's really nice. And the other one for me, because I coached him with OJ a few years back, is Jeff Bevin. Bev's a great player and a really positive influence for his teammates on the sideline and on the field. He's a very calming presence for his teammates. So those are 4 guys that really stuck out for me in terms of leadership, albeit not being captains.
Yeah, and as you know, every team has those players, right? Like, we have our designated captains, but obviously there's going to be other people that are kind of the unsung captains, or they kind of move the needle forward, not necessarily with that title. But one thing I want to know before I even ask the next question is that just the homegrown talent from Ottawa. So it's obviously we're not a New York City or San Francisco there in Ottawa, where everyone's flooding for work and then playing Ultimate there. That seems to be the case in cities like that, or even Toronto. But Ottawa seems to be a lot of homegrown talent. I think that's going to pay a lot of dividends for now and also in the future. And with that future, you're going to bring in some rookies as well. So we have the core, but we have a few rookies inserted into the mix as well. So once again, I said this on every interview so far. You could shout out every rookie, but we don't have the time here unless our audience wants to listen to like a 3-hour podcast. So are there a couple rookies that have really stepped up, or you're really excited for? I know you're excited for all of them, but just maybe a couple that the AUDL and even maybe the Ottawa audience might not know about, that you could say, keep an eye out for these 2 or these 3.
We love the additional pressure you're putting on them by asking us to call them out. So this is like going to be very extra stressful for them. I think so. There's 6 rookies, and I will breeze through 3 of them quickly. So Cale Campbell, a gritty handler, will get into tight spaces quick, will be excellent on D. Ben Simmons, tall, will bid for anything. So look out for him. And Marty Gallant, big things in small packages. That guy can jump. So very excited about those 3.
Yeah. I want to shout out to the French connection parce que je suis francophone, alors il faut reconnaître les francophones. Samuel Dupont-Graton and Max Ayad are 2 players that are really exciting to watch play. Samuel has got a defensive mind, is working hard in his own time to make sure that his body is ready to shut players down. And at tryouts, he got everybody's jaw on the floor, pulling down discs over veteran players that we all thought he had no business pulling down over. So Max is super fast, super gritty on defense. And we got a big name too in the lanes, Key Road Robinson, who's moves the disc quickly and it's kind of tough to cover. So excited to see those guys make things happen on the field.
Hey, you snuck in all 6 in a very short amount of time, so I do appreciate that. That was I had to say that out because that was really smart and really really quick too. So clearly the coaches, not only they're ready to coach on the field, but they're prepared for their podcast debut. So that's just good things for you coming, Ottawa. That's how you know. So
we wanted to be really positive with our rookies because somebody mentioned that this might be adding pressure on them. It's not adding pressure on them at all. It's saying like we've already noticed these things about you guys, and we're so excited to watch you guys go. It's about sharing the love and about saying that these are some legit players. So
yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, the audience has heard of Alec Arsenault and Nick Boucher many a time, so it's good to share the love to some other players that might not get that shine all the time. And yeah, that's great. And as we talked about earlier, Ottawa fans they do love the Outlaws because we saw the fan interaction and kind of the people that were at TD Place. There was a lot, and it was awesome. So from your coaching perspective, maybe you're putting on a little bit of the marketing hat right now, but what can fans look forward to this year? What can they expect from the 2022 squad? So that's going to be open-ended. You're kind of pitching it to the fans here of what Ottawa is going to be like.
We've got a fast team. We got some fast athletes, and I mentioned before, our fitness level is really high. So fast athletes who can stay fast as points progress and as the game progresses. I think that's one of our assets. I think that they'll see that the captains have got a lot less of a mental load because as coaches will be able to share that a little bit. And hopefully that will allow our coaches to shine even more, and the rest of our players to step up as their captains step their game up as well. I think that's what I'd say for now. Laura, what do you think?
Well, my hope is that there's some really fun haircuts and facial hair that you'll be able to expect. So maybe they can watch out for that. I think, and my hope is that folks from the Ottawa region can see themselves on the Outlaws in the future, and they see their friends and their teammates. We have a lot of guys who have come up, or some guys who have come up through the Ottawa program, through the Ottawa Juniors program, through the university programs, and so I think there's going to be a great crowd there this year cheering them on. I'm very excited to see all the bids, all the speed, using their bodies to box people out, to really make those exceptional plays. And I think that they're going to be highlighted a lot on the Instagram and on AUDL TV. So I'm excited to see it.
Hey, last year they did the highlight clips for a lot of the games. So yeah, excited to see that. And from what I'm aware of, 3 spots, correct me if I'm wrong here, but 3 playoff spots for the 7 teams. So there's going to be some tight competition. So every game in the East Division is going to matter. We got a very stacked division out there. So definitely be heading out to Carleton University to watch the games, or you can check it out, as they said, on AUDL TV. So we're going to wrap up the interview. We've appreciated your time, but now you get a chance. This is the free-flowing aspect. You get a chance to share any fun stories, anecdotes, tidbits, wisdom, whatever you want to share. It's open-ended. So I'll leave that to the both of you.
Well, I think that there was one thing that was really exciting that we I don't know that I was that aware of it, but we mentioned it before already in the podcast. Second star of the podcast is Andy Octorloni is going to be turning 45 this year, which is such a great age to still be playing Ultimate at. But I think someone mentioned that he's also going to be the oldest player in the AUDL. So I don't know if there's any AUDL history researchers out there to find out, but that's something that's pretty exciting about the team. And I think we also signed 2 guys, Laura, that are 18 years old. So at one point this year, that's like a 25-year spread between our youngest and our oldest players. So exciting times for the Outlaws.
I don't know that I have anything to add. I just feel inspired by Andy O. It makes me think that I can still play for another 4 more years. Like, let's get out there. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andy O is what we call the sage or the ageless wonder. I'm sure there are people that played with Andy O, and people in the audience can correct me if I'm wrong, but they played with Andy O back in the heyday, you know, when he was just starting out, and now they have kids that may be also playing with him. Is that like, am I off base of saying that? Or I think that might be right.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's amazing. We'll find for our next chance on this podcast, we'll find that out and bring it back to you.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate you two coming in, taking time out of your busy schedules, you know, coaching, but also the full-time job, because we know you're probably not full-time coaching out here. So got the full-time jobs and all that balancing. So Hagan, Laura, thank you for coming on. Wish the best of luck. I said this to all the teams. Wishing all of you the equal amount of luck, and maybe all 3 Canadian teams will be in the East Division playoffs, and see you later, New York, see you later, Boston, and all the other teams. So that's all we got to say.
Thanks so much, Theo. This was fun.
Thanks for having us, Theo. We'll see you again.
So that is it, everybody. That is our episode. Hope you enjoyed the news. Hope you enjoyed hearing about me going to Mexico, and that you are super excited to hear our next episode. So now you know all the things that are happening with the AUDL. Theo, what do you think was your favorite part of your interviews?
To be honest, it reminded me of the first podcast I did, just an interview-based podcast. It was really fun to kind of go back to the roots, you know, like how I first started podcasting. So that was really exciting, and just kind of getting an honest look at all the different teams. And they're all excited to be able to play American teams. And I know that's the same for college teams that we talked about, and the club teams that are going to go down to the USA Series and Worlds and just play all these different teams. And I think after this much time off, I think people are excited to be able to do that in all the different leagues, divisions, whatever you want to call it. So that's the exciting part for me, is that we get to see that intra-country competition.
Yes. Agreed. So thank you so much. If you're still with us, this is another girthy episode, and we've got lots of stuff happening. We've got tryouts happening. TCU 20 tryouts are happening. Teams are going to regionals. There's just like so much. So keep checking in. We're going to try to bring you all the freshest news that we can.
Yeah. Hit the socials. We're on the road to 1K. That reel definitely helped us. So we're like pretty close, I feel like. So be the 1,000 subscriber and you will win. I don't know what you'll win.
An autographed piece of paper from Theo.
Yeah, that doesn't have a good going rate. Maybe it's what you did before, Danie, a poem on Instagram or something. Remember that?
We can write an individualized poem. So smart. I love writing poems.
So get on the Instagram, hit follow on Huckin_A. We're posting clips. We got the stories from different teams and different things happening as well. So make sure you do that.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, this is Taya Malile, one of the captains of the University of Toronto Women's Ultimate Team, and you're listening to the Huckin' A podcast, your coast-to-coast guide for all things Canadian Ultimate.